Kingdom Wife Mom Boss. Welcome back to another episode of the Kingdom Wife Mom Boss podcast. I'm so glad that you're joining me on today. It is Memorial Day. And so on today, we just want to show love and honor to the family of those who have lost their lives, given their lives, or serving for our military. While we do know that it is God that keeps us, I think we often forget that there are people who dedicate their lives to ensuring that we can live the life that we desire to live. My daughter actually graduated last week. Yeah. Yes, girl. I did. I cried several times. I think I counted four times where I cried. But for her, she said, and it was just this one moment where she got pretty emotional. And it was when, during graduation ceremonies, they always ask military families to stand up. They want to acknowledge you and they want to recognize you. And so she said she looked around and realized that these people that she had gone to school with, they were going into the military and they're going to be serving our military. And so she said at that point, she got a little emotional just thinking about their journey and what it is that they're going to be doing next in their lives. And so it was a beautiful ceremony. But yes, I definitely had a couple of moments there. So I want to share with you a couple of things. The Kingdom Wife Mom Boss podcast is having an empowerment. And I know some people don't like the word empowerment, but I do. Although I cannot give you power, I believe that sometimes we forget who we are or we are not walking in who it is that God has called for us to be. Like we have power inside of us, but we are not tapping into that power. Like we are not reaching in to fully embrace that power so that we can show up to who God has called for us to be. And sometimes we need someone to encourage us. We need someone to boost us. We need someone to help us get to a certain place. And that for me is empowerment. Like you're not giving me power, but you're empowering me to reach into and connect to who it is that God has called for me to be in this season. And so we are having a Kingdom Wife from Boss Empowerment. And I'm so happy about our special guest. It's going to be Chantel Brooks and it's going to be Kelly Williams. And so we're going to be talking about probably going into depth a little more about the couple of things that we talked about on the podcast. So the various ways that we work with our spouses and how that helps us. Um, Lifestyle management, being the empowered wife, mountains, molehills, and valleys. Like we have a various amount of topics that we're going to talk about with our Kingdom Wife Mom Boss community. And so it really is just going to be a place where you can come in and be poured into. We're also going to have a Q&A session at the end of the sessions that are going to go forth so that you can ask your questions. It's that I think some women just want to get to a better place. They want to be better. They want to do better, and they want to show up better in their marriage or they want something different for their marriage, but they may not know where to start. They may not know where to start, what to say, how to get there. And so this empowerment is your opportunity to come in, to be poured into, and to ask the questions that you need to ask. I'm sorry, there's like this little gnat flying around, it's driving me crazy. But anyways, to ask the questions that you need to ask so that you can be empowered to show up and connect to who it is that God is calling for you to be in this season. And so I'm super excited about that. We also have the unforgiveness prayer call coming up on May 28th. I was laying in bed and God said to me, He said, or He dropped it in my heart, that there are many wives that were walking in error and feeling stuck because of the unforgiveness that they have in their hearts. And I was making the final edits on my book when I realized that I actually had two chapters that talked about unforgiveness and the struggle of it in marriage. And the feeling may be warranted. I'm not saying that your unforgiveness is there for no reason. Like it's definitely there for a reason. I don't want to glaze over there or act like I don't know that. It's there for a reason. And I get that. But holding on to it is a blessing blocker and it can destroy your marriage. It comes up in various ways. It comes up, girl, it pops up when you least expect it, or every time your husband does something, you're triggered again about this unforgiveness, and it causes you to move in a way that is an error, and it causes you to move in a way that is not conducive to the growth and the healing that I know that you want for your kingdom marriage. So, if you are experiencing unforgiveness, you're having a hard time letting it go, unforgiveness prayer call this Wednesday. I think it's 7 p.m. Eastern Central Standard Time. I'm not Eastern, Central Standard Time. And we're just gonna go in and go before the Lord in unity and just pray unto him for the release of the root of what it is that's causing your unforgiveness so that you can be liberated from it and that you can see his hand really move in your life and move in your marriage. So, how are y'all feeling today, Kina Wives and Moms? My whole bunch is done with school. My whole bunch is done with school. I had one that graduated, and then their last day was Friday. And girl, I got one that hadn't even started yet. Ugh. While we were at the graduation, my husband was like, "Do you realize that we are some of the youngest parents out here?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Do you realize that we're going to be the oldest parents out here?" And I was like, "Let's not even talk about it." We got one coming out of school. We got one that has not even started school. Like the range is so real. It's not even funny. So, but they're all done with school. I think I'll be just as happy on the last day as I am like taking them back on the first day of school. The school year is long. It is long and sometimes it is incredibly tedious. This was definitely one of my rougher years for school and just making sure that all the kids stay on track and stay out of trouble. Um it's definitely rough years. I was excited to see last week come. We can get a little break over this summer. And then next year I will have a middle schooler, one in college, and one who is going to continue his journey in high school. And then one that's still not gonna be in school. Girl, listen. Anyways, we're not even gonna talk about it. We're not even gonna talk about it. But it just is what it is. I don't know. And so we were talking about how people become complacent and what it is that God has called for them to do. It's very easy to do. I've done it several times. Very, very, very easy to do. You reach a breakthrough at a certain point and you kind of just stop at that point of breakthrough, but you know that there's more. And so my mentor gave us a reading assignment, and in the reading assignment was dealing in Exodus, and it was talking about after the Israelites had crossed the Red Sea and they were on their way to the land of Canaan, and they were complaining and grumbling against Moses, talking about how, of course, they didn't have food to eat. And they were talking about, at least back in Egypt, we had food. And so, how often are we willing to go back into a place of bondage because it's also a place of comfort? Your place of comfort is your place of bondage. And I'm not going to talk about that one. I'm sure y'all heard that message so many times about how, just because it's a comfort zone. It's a place that God is trying to move you from because He has more for you. But because it's a comfort place for you, you become bonded to it and it keeps you from growing. It keeps you from having the more and it keeps you from walking in the more. And God is trying to move you out of that place. And so, what have we become complacent in our everyday life that God is trying to move us from? There's so many things. I mean, this isn't a big thing, but there's so many things that I want to do around the house. Like right now, I want to move my living room around. I've been wanting to do it for a while and I haven't done it. And I was thinking the other day, what is keeping you from moving the living room around? And I think sometimes we very often will say, I need this and I need that, and I gotta do this and I gotta do that, instead of just using what you have and getting the work done or getting the assignment done. What are you complacent in because you feel like you need more? What are you complacent in because you're comfortable? What are you complacent in because it is an area of being familiar and you don't want to walk into unfamiliar territory? Whenever the Israelites were on the way to the land of Canaan, and they knew they were gonna have to go down this journey. I remember where the scripture talks about God giving them quail and giving them manna. And so he gave them quail and he gave them manna and it became sustainable, right? And so what if they would have just tried to rest in that area of being sustainable? Like we can live off of this, we can live off quail, we can live off manna, and we can just live in the wilderness. It's perfectly fine. Like we don't have to go to this great land flowing with milk and honey. We don't have to go to this victorious place because this is sustainable. It's a place of being familiar. It's a place of comfort. And we won't have to go down this journey of unknown territory of what it is that we're going to have to face. And I feel like sometimes we do that. Sometimes we are fully aware that there is more that God wants to do to us, but we are afraid to face the rejection. We are afraid to face the opposition. We are afraid to come out of the known and go into the unknown. We don't want to connect with people that we don't know. We don't want to um go down a path that we haven't been down before or that we don't know anybody that's gone down before. Some of you are people that God has called to create new avenues and create new paths and to have victory in certain areas that people don't even know that people didn't even know existed. And so it can become a mental battle sometimes to come out of the place of complacency and go into a place where we're just fully open and willing to allow God to guide our journey and to just say yes, even if that means that we're going to be uncomfortable, even if that means that we're going to face some hardships, if we're going to face some trials. If God has spoken something to us and we know that there is more, we got to put complacency on the back seat. We got to put fear out of our hearts and fear out of our minds. I want to get to the more. And I know that you want to get to the more as well. I know that you want to get to the more as well. And huh, if you're anything like me, sometimes it feels like the journey is a lonely journey. I remember talking to an old friend one time and we were talking about experiences that we've had in church where we feel like we were counted out. And it wasn't a church situation. So let me just like it wasn't a church situation. It was just a situation where we felt like we were counted out. For me, I was just talking about how first of all, sometimes you can be in a room and the prophet or the prophetess can prophesy to everybody in the room except for you. She was talking about like that was her journey. She said that everybody in the room had been prophesied to except for her. And my situation was the leader of the church at that time was passing something out to everybody in the church and I got skipped over. Like it didn't go to me. And so in those moments, it can make us feel insecure. It can make us feel like we're not enough. But I think for me, I think what I've learned that is in those moments, God has been wanting to teach us or teach me very specifically that validation cannot come from man. Um, because I think whenever everybody else is getting it, you're like, oh, where's mine? It's almost a sense of, oh, you're validating everybody else, like validate me too. And so validation cannot come from man. And it is God who is the one who is going to fill us and bless us and give us what we need for the journey. And so when God tells me to do stuff or to step out on a limb or to do whatever it is and I don't see it being done or it's unfamiliar territory and fear of rejection tries to creep in. Like it is those moments that I remember and I say to myself like, okay, God, this is what you're calling me to do. I know that you're going to bless it. I know that you're going to be with me because you're the one who told me to do it. So if I got to go out into this place of unfamiliar territory, if I got to come out of my comfort zone, if I have to step out on faith, whatever it is that you want me to do, I'm willing to do it. And that is so much easier said than done. And I do understand that it is easier said than done. But here's what I'm saying to you. If you know that there's more, if you know that God has called you to do more, you know that He has spoken more for you. You can't afford to sit on the sideline and comfort out of fear and not go for what it is that God has called for you to do. What is your more? What is your more that God has called for you to do? I want to see some just some amazing testimonies from some kingdom women about how they had to come out of their comfort zone and God did more for them. And I see them. Like I see them, you see people record their videos and make whatever, but um it's hard. It's very hard sometimes to come out of that familiar area and to come out of that comfort zone and do what it is that is different. And causes you to face opposition. And one of the reasons why it's hard is because a lot of us do deal with church hurt. A lot of us do deal with rejection. And so it is the enemy who sometimes knows what it is that you're called to do, that he will bring on those things so early, right? A lot of people deal with rejection. I don't know if I've ever, has anybody not dealt with rejection? I've never heard of anybody not dealing with rejection. Everybody deals with rejection. And so sometimes when God calls us to step out on a limb, it's a possibility of facing rejection. And so it is in that wound that the area that the enemy comes and plays in, and he throws fear at you. He makes you to remember the old thing. He makes you remember the thing that caused you so much pain in the area of rejection that you're not willing to step out and trust God that He's gonna catch you. Like He's going to open the door for you. He's gonna make the way for you because He instructed you to do it, right? And so the fear is there to stop you. The fear is there to keep you from advancing in what it is that God has called for you to do. And it's based out of the rejection. Listen, I know at the beginning of this, we talked about people dedicating their lives for our lifestyles and the way that we live, but like literally, Jesus dedicated his life so that you can walk in the more, so that you can walk in the abundance, so that you can walk in the bliss and the exceedingly, right? And the enemy comes to stop you from doing that. And he does that with the spirit of fear. He does that with playing with your rejection. He does that by causing you to stop in the comfort places where you feel love and where you feel security. He wants you to stop there in that place and not go any further. It's like an oasis in the desert. It's like an oasis in the middle of the desert. You got to get across that desert so that you can get to the promised place. And it's so comfortable in that oasis because you have everything that you need in the oasis, but that oasis is not meant for you to live in. It's just a temporary moment in time for you. So, really, that's all I wanted to talk to you about today is just your comfort zone, your comfort areas, and coming out of that comfort zone and coming out of that comfort area so that you can walk in the more. And so, take the moment, take the opportunity to go back into your journals and see what it is that God has spoken as far as the more. And look at the areas where you're not pursuing it. Look at the areas where you stopped and get to the root of that. Find out why you stopped. Find out where you stopped. Was it fear? Was it rejection? Um, was it insecurity? Was it lack? What was your more that God spoke to you to like the place that He has for you, the place that He called for you to be, and the place that He's called for you to thrive in? Because for his Israelites, he had them to thrive in the land of milk and honey, right? And so, man, even then when Joshua was leading them and he sent them out and they came back and they said, there's giants there. They said there's giants there. And in that place they became insecure and they allowed fear to settle into their heart. Not all of them, but the two that did it that allowed fear to set into their heart to the place where they no longer wanted to pursue the promise. But here's the thing, it is a promise. It is a promise. And if God spoke it, He's going to fulfill His promise. If He said you're going to get the victory, guess what? You're going to get the victory. And fear comes to stop you from getting the victory. So if you're going through your journals and you see that God has promised a place for you, oh, what is the promised place that God has for you? God has promised a place for you, and you've stopped pursuing the promise. You got to find out why. You got to sit with him. You got to find out why. You got to bring that before him. And you have to ask him to give you the strength and the wisdom to continue to pursue the promise. That to me, God a lot of times is going to connect you with people that's going to help you. is going to help you get to the place where you're pursuing what it is that He has called for you to do. These journeys we aren't made to do alone. And I know that I was talking earlier about um, Him reminding us that, it is Him that validates us. But a lot of the times, He will connect you with people that are going to help you get to the place that you need to be. He's going to help you with people that's going to help deliver you to a certain place. And so, um, they are empowering you to reach into who it is that God has called for you to be and where it is that God has called for you to be. And they're encouraging you and supporting you and causing you to reach within yourself to connect to that power that God has already given you so that you can thrive in the promised place that God has for you. I want to see you thrive in the promised place that God has for you. So go back to your journals. Go back to your notes that God has spoken the promised place to you and take note of where it is that you were, where it is that you started, where it is that you are now. Have you quit prematurely before you got to the place of promise? Why have you quit? What has made you quit? And go to God and get a plan to start back on that journey of the promised place. Moses was the one who got the plans from God. Moses was the one who communicated those plans from God to the people to get them to the place of promise. There is a plan. Like God sees you, He knows exactly where you are, He knows exactly where you stop. And so connecting with Him and asking Him for help to get you to the promised place is what we have to do to make sure that we get to that place that God has called for us to be. All right, that is all I wanted to chat with you guys about today. Again, make sure that you go and register for the empowerment. You guys enjoy your day with family if you're spending time with family. You guys have an amazing week, and I am going to catch you on the next episode of the Kingdom Wife and Boss podcast. Have a good one. Bye.